What is up, everybody? Sean here.
Morgan.
Steven.
And today on the Geek and Seek podcast, we are going to be talking about Magic. More specifically, some of our favorite decks, what we like to play, what we don't like to play, and just decks that we would like to play more often. I have multiple decks that I love to play, and I have multiple decks that I hate playing against. So we'll go ahead and start it off with my main man, Steven. What are some of your favorite, or favorite type of decks that you like to play?
Well, so I started playing Magic around the time of Shadows over Innistrad and Eldritch Moon came out. And so I'm really into the themes of those sets. So especially Eldrazi.
The Eldritch Horror kind of stuff.
The Eldritch Horror. I like mainly Eldrazi, and I like werewolves a lot. And so I recently, not too long ago, I built a Tovolar commander deck. And so I really like that one. I like how that one's coming together. I also just really like Simic as a combo. I like blue-green.
What's is Simic just blue-green?
It's just blue-green.
Land drop? Well,
there's a lot of ways you can build
blue-green,
Simic.
yeah. You can
Basically, if you take any blue-green commander, it's going to be OP. Just because blue-green does everything.
Yeah, I know that blue is very just counter heavy, and then green is very mana heavy, like big creatures.
Well,
so.
yeah, and here's the thing: is green is the best ramp color.
Yeah.
Blue is the best control color, and then both green and blue are the best colors of drawing, drawing cards. So green, if you have a green blue deck at the table, there's a good chance it's gonna either win or it's gonna get so far ahead that everyone teams up on them.
So. That's how it usually goes when I play Simic. It's either people team up on me when I play Simic, or I end up just winning. So that's usually how it goes.
I don't play blue-green a whole lot, but I definitely see it. I think the first commander deck actually I did was blue-green, but I don't play it as often. But I can imagine it being really insanely good. So.
Well, so that's kind of, I think, it's obviously not the same kind of question, but there's, I think, a little bit of parallels as to what kind of decks do we like to play and what's our favorite color. So maybe that's a good place to start. Does everyone have a favorite color to play? Because for me, I would say, I mean, when I first started playing Magic, probably green, because I liked playing big creatures and stuff. But now I like the gamble and utilizing different resources. So I probably would say black now, because I like sacrificing my creatures for value, playing with my graveyard. Because I would say a lot of my favorite decks are graveyard themed decks. So my modern deck has a lot of green, black, white synergies for playing with your graveyard. My pauper deck is a delve deck, and then
who plays pauper?
Me. That's it. And then a lot of my favorite commander decks that I have too many commander decks, but a lot of my favorite ones are graveyard themed. Muldrotha is probably maybe my favorite commander deck.
Fuck that.
And
deck.
then I have a couple other ones. But oddly enough, my Osgir deck, which is red-white, is another one of my favorite decks, but it's also graveyard themed. So if it was a black deck, I don't think it would surprise anyone. But yeah, I would say black, and I think a lot of that has to do with utilizing different resources and
yeah. I would say the first Magic deck that I ever built was black-green, but it was one of those decks that pre-con for standard, so it was dog shit, but it had so many great cards in it, and I just loved everything about black, the whole sacrificing, a lot of the effects, some death touch +1/+1s. Another reason that's doesn't really have a lot to do with the abilities of the cards, but just the art, a lot of demon cards, a lot of zombie cards, I just became obsessed with, because I just loved the art, and I loved building decks around that. Black and white was something I tried to do a lot, but it didn't really work out because there was just a lot of heavy costing angel cards, and I wasn't being able to draw as much. So eventually, when I realized that deck was going to be really hard to be playable, I started doing black-green or black-blue, and just kind of worked myself from there and started making some really fun Delirium, graveyard decks, and some control decks. So those have always been my go-to. Just anything with black, usually blue or green. So.
And then what about you, Steven? Green?
Excuse me. Yeah, I would say green probably. I realized that I have 4 commander decks and all of them have green in it. So,
I think you have a problem.
You should probably play
well,
a
see,
not
and
green
that's
deck.
yeah. So, is that kind of like rolling into the next subject of decks we want to build? Because
Yes,
a deck that
is.
I took into consideration of decks that we want to build, and I figured if I should make any other deck in the future, it should be of the colors that I play the least amount. So I'd like to build a black-white deck with
luck.
Shadrix Silverquill as the commander. So
Have you thought about how that's going to work? Because it's like group hug, but not.
yeah.
Have you thought about how you're going to build it?
I mean, a little bit. I've kind of watched a few other videos of other people using that deck and deck lists. So yeah, it will be different because it doesn't have green in it. But I think it'd be pretty fun to do something like that, and just different.
Yeah, a deck that I'm building. I'm currently building the first modern deck that I ever built was 8 whack, which is all goblins, and it was just super fast, super aggro, and I loved playing it. It wasn't super expensive either. A guy at a card shop, one of the managers, suggested it to me, and I did it. I got all the cards and I did it. And I remember like playing against like you and like a couple other friends. And I remember like you guys would get so mad because I'd do like 15 damage on like the second turn.
Yeah, if you don't have a lot of good instant speed removal, goblins is really annoying to play against. Like,
Yeah.
now that like my modern deck is not a jank pile of cards and it's actually like well constructed, I wouldn't mind playing against goblins again. But goblins have a lot of stuff coming down turn 1, turn 2. So if you don't have early removal, it's definitely a pain.
Yeah. Like for the deck that I'm building, Cranko, Mob Boss, yeah, it has a lot of flaws, obviously. But it's just kind of one of those things where it's like I realize it has flaws and it's not a perfect deck, but I still want to build it because with me, I'm not really big on Magic decks that are like so stupid that like nobody can do anything because I don't know, I just don't think it's as much fun.
The solitaire decks.
Yeah, like I like Magic games where it's like kind of balanced and like people are still able, like combat is still able to happen and stuff like that. I don't know. Me personally, I'm just not a huge fan on decks that like don't make it so the other person can't do anything. I don't know. That's
I would
just
say
me.
the main decks I hate going against, it's not necessarily the decks themselves. It's more like people taking forever to do their turn because they're just doing a million things.
When
Yeah.
Magic becomes Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, there's a guy in our play group who has a Joyra deck, and it is it's a really impressive deck, and it's really cool. And what's funny is I was thinking about building a Joyra deck, but then after seeing how it worked, I was like, no, because I mean it really is. It's like he'll spend like 10, 15 minutes like wheeling off and like just a bunch of cheap artifacts, which give him more cheap artifacts, and it's like he's really only affecting his board. Like he's not interacting a lot with the other boards. And I mean, it is a cool, impressive deck that, if he pulls it out every once in a while, it's kind of cool. But like, if that was his only deck, I don't think we'd let him play with us.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. And I have a lot of kind of getting into like decks I want to build. I have a lot of commander decks, and that's kind of, I think Commander is like the best place to try these new ideas because you can build decks for really cheap and then try a lot of different things. So I'm kind of at the point where I have so many Commander decks. I probably have like, I don't know, if we count my battle box, which is like 15 decks all in one thing, which I need to do a video on how it works. That would be a cool video. If you count that, I probably have like 30 commander decks, something crazy like that. And they're all pretty different. I don't have a lot of crossover as to like the themes that they do. So I don't know if there's a deck I would like to build. There is a deck I've been on the fence about building, but it would be kind of expensive to build. So I don't know if I'm going to, but it's an Asika deck where it's like God Tribal, but it's also Enchantress. So I'm like playing all of the Theros enchantment gods and getting them out into play faster, getting enchantment payoffs. But it would be a 5-color deck, which I could save money on lands because I would mostly play basics because what's one of my favorite enchantments? Blood Moon. So just turn off all non-basic land. So I don't know. It's just I'm on the fence about building it, but I think if it works right, it would be a really fun deck. But I'm on the fence. But if I had to say a deck I would like to play, it would probably be that. I might build it. I don't know.
And to kind of turn away from Commander, because I feel like we're talking about Commander a lot. But
that is what
the
we
format,
mostly play. But
that is the format that we play the most. Another deck that I also really wanted to build was 8 Rack with Liliana, which I actually did start. I just never finished it.
And that was Modern, right?
Yeah. Like, Modern is a format that I really like and would like to play more. I just haven't devoted the time to build it. Or like haven't really researched a lot because I haven't really been keeping up with the meta in Modern as much. But that is something that I would absolutely love to do. And just, I don't know, just Modern. I just miss playing like Modern. I don't really miss playing a whole lot of Standard just because of the keeping up with the decks and just modifying everything. And I don't know.
Just decks rotating more often.
A lot of the newer sets are also just kind of hit and miss with me. I'm like,
it's like
that's
every
cool.
other set I really like.
Yeah, it's like, this is cool, but like, I'm not going to build an entire deck around it.
Yeah.
So.
It's very rare that you get like a deck that's like consistent and can survive rotation. Like, actually, what's weird about Standard right now is usually there's like a really aggressive mono red deck in Standard that's really good. And that's not a thing right now in Standard. And that was like, if you wanted to play... well, it's kind of cool because I like the shake-up, but at the same time, it's like, if you want to play Standard on a budget, that's the deck you build. And it's just not a good deck in Standard right now.
I think the last time I saw like a red aggro deck in Standard, and I mean
I
this
think
is the last time that
Dominaria
I
was
checked.
still in Standard. Dominaria was still in Standard. I think the last time that mono red was really good.
Well, I remember Vehicles for like Kaladesh and the other thing.
Yeah, that was quite a bit before.
I remember Vehicles were like really big. Like, that was like one of the main, and like that Chandra that came out for that was also like really heavily used.
I think Modern's great, and honestly Modern currently with the meta is really cool. Unfortunately, a lot of the creatures that are getting played in Modern right now are all like brand new cards from like Modern Horizons or Modern Horizons 2 from the last couple of years, so that's kind of annoying. But in the same sense, like my Modern deck is Abzan mid-range, so it's like Siege Rhino is like a big part of that deck. And for the last few years, like that deck just wasn't good. But because of how hard the modern format has been shooken up recently, that deck is actually good again. So it feels good. Modern's in a good place. But
so I'll play Modern, just not with a Morgan.
Yeah, thanks. But you know, they just announced the other day that the Pro Tour is coming back, and I think part of what they're doing with the Pro Tour is doing Pioneer, which is like I think it's supposed to just be like Modern with a slightly smaller card pool and no fetch lands. And there's like a mono white aggro deck that is really popular. And I don't know, it's also a budget deck, so I feel like I might as well just build that and give Pioneer a chance. If we're bringing the Pro Tours back, that might just be fun because I don't play a lot of aggro. So it might be cool to give it a chance and in a format I haven't really played before.
All right, so kind of leading into the final topic of this podcast, like what, and we kind of touched on it already a little bit, what are some of our like favorite formats? I know most of us have already mentioned, and we've talked a lot about Commander, but like I think the Commander would definitely be on there. And I want to say Modern, but I guess I'll leave it with this, is that Legacy is also a format that I've kind of dabbled in a little bit. And if I had like a top 5, I'm sure it would make it on there. But if I had to, I'm obviously going to say like Commander and Modern, just because like I've already said what I said about Standard. And with Modern, you're getting like the real taste of Magic. You're getting cards from years and years of playthrough. And Commander, it's just like such a fun experience just doing it with multiple people. So
yeah, and I think what's great about Magic is that diversity, both in strategies and then formats. Because like I think Legacy is really cool when you think about it, but then it's like if you're going to play more than one color and you need those OG duels, Underground Sea is like $900. I'm not buying a playset of that.
Well, if I was going to do Legacy, I'd do it like online. I probably wouldn't do it in
like
paper.
Magic Online or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, Modern's actually my favorite format, especially recently when like the meta's been shooken up enough that a lot of decks are actually like decent. Like Jund hasn't been a good deck for a long time, but like it stands a chance, you know. So Modern's great, but when you talk about like the, it's hard to beat Commander because Commander is like really any deck stands a chance because so much of a commander game is politics because you're trying to like make alliances and just keep the other players even. There's so many times that I've played a commander game where the player who has the worst deck at the table still somehow wins. Yeah. And that's something that's kind of cool. I mean, that can happen in any format, but it happens. Not you. Yeah, it's mostly, Sometimes it's Steven. On Sundays, that's like the main format we play. And, eventually I want to do a gameplay series on this channel. So, guys, share us around. If you have friends who like Magic, send them our way. Because I do want to do a playthrough series, but there's a little bit more gear I need to accumulate in order to do that and make it look nice. So,
Stave.
But we'll probably play Commander. But Steven.
I would say my favorite is Commander because my favorite format is Commander because of just all the different types of decks you can build, and like kind of what you said with any deck stands a chance, and also that you can really build a deck around really any possible commander, and it can be good.
Yeah.
So.
All right, go move your car.
Okay.
Was that Jenna or Drew?
I think it's Drew. It's kind of funny because this isn't even the first time that we've been in the middle of filming a video and Steven's had to go move his car. Because I remember like 2 years ago we did that video where we were at your place and doing that album ranking for Linkin Park.
Yeah, I remember
And then your dad was like,
"Don't let me in here."
Hey, Steven needs to move his car.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was kind of fun. Is there a couple questions?
Right,
if you guys have any... Lord Xander. It's brand new. I don't... Yeah, you might just need a... if you guys have questions, we do a short Q&A at the end of every podcast episode. So, yeah, that one. We're going to do a short Q&A at the end of every podcast episode. So if you have any nerd-related questions, doesn't have to be about the topic we're talking about that week, leave a comment down below on this video or send it our way on social media. One of the questions we had is from our friend Wesley, who came to our high school game series. He was asking about the new card, Lord Xander, which
collector.
is from the upcoming set, New Capenna, which is coming out end of this month, beginning of next month. I'm not sure. But Sean, can you read the card real quick? It's just like mana cost, its power toughness, what its abilities are.
It is 4 colorless, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 red. It is a legendary creature. It is a vampire demon noble. Ooh, that is...
What a combo.
That is sexy. But when it enters the battlefield, target opponent discards half the cards in their hand rounded down, and whenever it attacks, defending player mills half their library rounded down. When it dies, target opponent sacrifices half the non-land permanents they control rounded down. That's that's really scary.
I sent that to our Sunday night play group chat, and I was thinking about like when I do play Muldrotha, if someone did that to me, I would thank them. Because they just made my hand size so much better. Like if you have a graveyard deck at the table, you're helping them, right?
Yeah.
But maybe that's your way of making that deck political. Because if you're not playing politically, here, let's even read the card. If you're not playing politically, like that card comes out, you're going to make an enemy of everyone at the table because everyone's going to see that if it's your commander and not in your 99. They see it, it's your commander. Everyone's going to be like, that's really mean. We don't want that to happen to us. But then, like, maybe your one chance if you're playing that deck of having an ally is if there's a graveyard deck at the table. And you could be like, hey, I'm going to make your graveyard huge. And you're going to have a lot of resources.
Yeah.
This deck is gross. I don't like it.
In most instances, that card is kind of awful, but there's also instances like what Morgan was saying where it's good. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of like I would be terrified to play against that card. I would probably have to find a way to build around that if I had a play group and they were literally playing that card. So either playing like a graveyard deck or like a sacrifice deck. Or just, I guess, a basic control deck.
I don't think it's oppressive because it's 7 mana. So, and if it is your commander, you're going to see it coming. And if it's just in their 99 and you don't see it coming, it's still 7 mana, so it's going to take a while for them to cast it. And it's in colors that don't really ramp very well. So
but still, I feel like they'd build.
It's really powerful, but it's also not. It doesn't have any way to protect itself. So anyone's just like, okay, murder. You know, like, it just doesn't have a way to protect itself. I don't know. It doesn't have like hexproof or ward
in some
or
ways,
like
some
that.
people might know its weaknesses and build around that, but you never know. I don't know. I mean, it's a cool. Regardless, it's a cool card.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'll personally play it just because that mana cost is kind of awkward, and those colors are also really awkward. But I mean,
I have a Grixis commander that's also 7 mana for my Thraxamundar deck, and it's jank as hell. Like,
yeah,
it's hard.
So I like the idea of it, and it's just cool to see new ideas like the rounded down and all that. But
So a question I had for my friend Brooke is we kind of already talked about it, but just to throw it out there in case anyone had any last second thoughts, is there a favorite color combination that we like?
I think we've already said it.
Did you? Because you said Simic, right?
Probably Simic for me.
I kind of just said black was my favorite color. I would say Sultai or Abzan is my favorite color combination. So either green, black, white or green, black, blue.
Yeah, I would
And
say I would say black green or I really like mono red.
Mono
like
red's
that
cool.
That's just really easy to build, super simple. Like it's not a hard deck to think about. It's just just kill your opponent as fast as possible.
And then 2 podcast episodes ago, we had a question, which was what was our least favorite decks to play against? And that was in our draft, but we didn't really spend much time talking about it. So do we want to come back and elaborate on that a little more? I agree. I don't really like playing against the solitaire decks. But I also don't like decks that recover too quickly because like there's a deck in our play group that's a green-white enchantments. And like it doesn't matter. You board wipe, they're back in the game the next turn. If
Yeah.
you get rid of their most problematic thing, doesn't matter. They'll have a way to get it back. And I will say a lot of decks like that are kind of just spinning the wheel. And if you find a way to just kill them, it doesn't really matter, but it's like the seal, like it's just they recover so fast. And it's really annoying. And it's like you can just spend like
Dab
bless
on
you.
them haters.
You could spend like 5 or 6 turns all teaming up on that player, and it just doesn't matter. So
And that kind of brings me. I was gonna say a deck that I do not like playing against is Life Gain. The sole purpose
it kind of does
of
the same
deck
thing where it's like
is
you
just
can all
to gain a bunch of life.
Yeah.
And so it's like, all right, I deal even if you deal massive damage to them, and it's like
like,
okay,
all right,
well,
I
I'm
wanna
just
hit
gonna gain twice that much life back.
yeah
on my next,
Preston's on our play group, and he has a life gain deck, and I've seen games where he's had like 800 life before, and
That's
it's like
not okay.
Your
Yikes.
only chance is board wipe, so he loses his board. Get my commander out really fast and kill him with commander damage. That's like the only chance to win at that point.
Yeah,
Now
commander
sometimes
damage is like the only way to.
Yeah, sometimes he has a slow start, and you can see it coming, and everyone just teams up on him, which is not maybe it's not fair to him. But I mean, those decks that just prolong the game
deserves it because he's playing Life Gain more. Than
I would rather play I'd rather play 2 or 3 shorter games in a night than one really long game. So any deck that makes the game last longer for no reason, I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, I mean, I don't personally like playing against. I love playing Life Gain. I don't love playing against it, but
nerd.
I don't really like
What a
playing.
Preston over here.
I don't really like a lot of Voltron decks because they're just really annoying, and I'm also just not a big fan of like Cos-like decks.
I feel attacked. Voltron are the decks where you have your commander and you attach a bunch of stuff to it, and like that's your main win con is killing people with commander damage.
I'm also just not a big fan of
I
like.
think it depends. I think Voltron is not that bad to play against because think about it. It's 3 guys versus the one Voltron guy, and the Voltron guy probably only has one really good creature. So if you just keep killing that creature over and over again, eventually you're going to lock them out of a game to where they can't do anything.
Well, in my
so I don't
instances,
think Voltron's that hard to play.
in my
against.
instances, when I've played against Voltron, nobody actually teams up. They're just like, no, you're the biggest threat. It's always like pointing fingers. So I've only had bad experiences playing against Voltron decks. But I also am not really a big fan of like really control heavy decks where like it's just counter after counter after counter. I really, 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 really don't like that. And I really don't like...
They're like, oh, you played your commander? Well, I'll counter it for the
like
third
just,
time this
yeah,
game.
just anything that is like...
I did that to Preston a few games ago, but it was because he was playing his mono green commander deck, so it was like a not technically legal commander, and it was really OP, and he was gonna get like giant Eldrazi's out. I was like, if I don't do this, we're all gonna regret it.
If I can't even show off like a decent amount of my deck without like anything happening, then yeah, I don't like playing against it.
Yeah.
So
and what Sean's saying is you can still play counter spells, just don't run like more than 5 or 6, and don't don't do what I did to Preston.
Don't be
Always
that
your
guy
counter
who
spells on
shows
one
up
guy.
to the club and it's just like counter spells like this.
Yeah, don't be
after-
that guy.
But anyway,
Were there any other questions, or did we get them all?
no, there wasn't. All right, guys. Thank you so much for fucking watching. Steven, love the new glasses. Morgan, yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please check out the Halo review and make sure to keep asking for questions for next podcasts. Bye.